Hello and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with the Ambassador of Hope. I hope your week has been off to a good start. Listen, whichever way it is, good, bad, ugly, in between, you don't know, you don't care. So long as there's breath in your nostrils and a heartbeat in your chest, there is hope for you. The worst thing you can ever do to yourself is to give up today when there is a bigger tomorrow just behind the door. The long and the short, please read my lips. Don't give up. Giving up should never be on your menu, should never be an option, because you never know what tomorrow may bring. I know the journey has been hard. I know it's been long. It looks like you're walking a long, dark alley, never-ending alley, and you're asking yourself, when will it end? The thing about it is that it will end, because everything that has a beginning has an end. And tonight we have a wonderful time for it. Before we do that, please get your device like we do all the time, and please share to as many people as possible. Remember, we are live on Facebook, The Ambassador of Hope, YouTube, Ofosu-Appiah Official. So let's do that, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that. Let's share, let's share, let's share. Let's share to as many people as possible. I'm going to share. Listen, share to friends, share to enemies, share by mistake to in-laws, outlaws, everybody. Let's do that. Let's do that. I'm sharing now. I'm sharing, and I'm going to welcome some of our visitors. I want to see the numbers go up. I want to see the numbers go up. Yvonne Hodder, good evening to you, Yvonne. My miracle lady, Priestess, every time I see you, I know that God is on his throne. Joyce, listen, Joyce speaks, and Joyce must be obeyed. Joyce says, family, please share. Please share. The emphasis on the please share. And we have Irene Mwakwadak, all the way from Ghana. God bless you, daughter. Adam from Keres House, Ghana, is in the house. Emmanuel Owusu, Anita Adakwe, the one and only Honorable Nana Nimo is in the house. Listen, share, share, share. Keep sharing, keep sharing, keep sharing. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Let's check out our YouTube crowd. It's going to be awesome. I've got some wonderful men and women here with me tonight. We are going to have a blast, trust me. Maureen, good evening to you. There's so many of you right here. Comfort is here. Good evening to you, daughter. I hope you're all doing well. Hey, every time invested is never time wasted. You know, people spend all their lives on TikTok, 5 hours, 6 hours. They are addicted to junk. But let me tell you, I tell people, and don't get me wrong, it is not too difficult to break through in life. If you are smart, and if you look at things that ordinary people do and you don't do them, you are in business. It's as simple as that. There's nothing chancy about life. There's nothing lucky about life. There's not even fortunate about life. You just have to be prepared. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Collins is in the house. Share to as many people as possible. And tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different. You know, last week I talked to you about the fact that my new book, my latest book was coming out, and I asked you to guess the title. Actually, somebody got it right. The person said the title is Guess the Title. Isn't it beautiful? I love that. Guess the title. And the person guessed the title. But I know that the secret is out. The cat is out of the box. And in my hand is the latest book. It's Live Well and Live Well. I don't know if you've ever been to any of the grocery stores or wherever, and you see 70, 80, 200-year-old men and women still feeling sharp. For some, they just want to get out and do stuff. But for some, it's life that has thrown them a hard ball, a curveball. And I want you to live well. I want you to have a little bit of heaven on earth. They come by principles. There are two things that will put you over in life: the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. If you learn to work the principles, you'll be on the top all the time, or most of the time. And this book is very practical. Mommy told me that reading it feels like you are sitting in front of me and just preaching to me. That is how I want it to be. It's amazing. And we are going to do some deep dive into this book. I'm just going to step away, and I'm going to have a wonderful group of people come to do this. And I have with me tonight some of my sons and daughters. One is not a daughter, but one is my master. They are right here, and we are going to have a discussion about the book, because there's a book, then there's also a workbook. You know, I'm so much committed to you that it's not just selling a book. It's not just selling a book. It is making your life better. You know, if you walk on the road and you see a beggar sitting somewhere, and every day when you get there, you throw a coin to the beggar, you throw a coin to you haven't solved the beggar's problem. If you find out what made the beggar poor and you solve that, you have solved his problem. And that is what I want to do for you. So tonight it's my honor to introduce to you my own Reverend Benjamin Opoku, a.k.a. the Revelator. There's only one. Can you just show him on the camera for me? Reverend Benjamin is right here in the house. You want to say hello to people, just introduce yourself to people. Just say hello to the crowd. Just say
hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Don't believe how he's speaking so softly. And on my far right is the only one and only Michelle. Michelle is mostly behind our computers and the camera, but today we put her in front of the camera. Michelle, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
All of them are not speaking true. And right is my own man, Minister Vaglas, is in the house. Minister, come up.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
We bless God. We bless God. And then, I'm going to step out of your way, and I'm going to hand it over to the powers that be. So, ladies and gentlemen, the power that be, the power behind the throne. Mommy. Mommy, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mommy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Well, where do we start from? Mommy,
Thank you for tuning in this evening. Once again, we encourage you to share to your friends, share to your loved ones, and I believe that this discussion will be a blessing to somebody, and somebody that haven't gotten the book yet to buy the book. And this evening, it says my take of the book that was launched. Just before the launch, my son came up to me, and I'm sure he was tricking me. Mommy, do you know the title of the book? And I said, no, I don't know. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the title of the book. Are you really, really sure, Mommy? I said, yes, I'm very, very sure. I don't know the title of the book. I didn't know the title of the book, to be honest with you. Well, if I wanted to find out, I could, but I just didn't want to find out. But I believe that this book will be a blessing to somebody.
Yes.
It will encourage somebody. It will lift somebody up from one level of faith to the other. It will energize somebody to turn their life around for good. And so we are here to, discuss what is written in the book. I'm sure for most of the people listening to us have a copy of the book, and I'm sure you've started reading the book by now. And for somebody, the person may have finished reading the book. So drop in your comments, what you've learned in the book, what has energized you or motivated you as a person to do something better for your life.
And to those of you who don't have the book yet, you are partly part of the reason why we're here. You can just start sending us a DM, showing your interest in the book, and we'll be sure to get in touch with you and mail you a copy of the book. Like Daddy already said, it's not just a book. It comes with a workbook that serves as a reading guide and a journaling guide. It asks you questions about the chapters that you've read, and it gives you cues as to how you can practically apply the book to your life. And for me, I think that's one of the interesting things about this book for me, being able to use it as a small discussion guide, being able to ask the real questions and give you, bring your mind to you asking yourself those questions, doing a lot of introspection, just so that you can see how important and how, good the book is and how to also use the book. But I'll go to Michelle. What's your take on the book? What's your introduction? What's your take on the book so far?
For me, I would say, even though we've heard about Live Well, Leave Well, this book brings a different perspective to it. Sorry. As I was reading, one thing that stood out for me is there's still hope. And Bishop speaks a lot about that. And even in the introduction, if you're listening to the montage been playing, and he says it in the beginning of every ambassador of hope is, as long as there's breath in your nostrils and a heartbeat in your chest, there's still hope. So regardless of your situation, regardless of what you're going through in life, there's always going to be hope. And I think that's why we have him here as the ambassador of hope, to bring us that reminder, that constant reminder that no matter where you are in life, be it your academics, be it marriage, you need healing, a breakthrough, there's always going to be hope. As long as God is not done with you, there's going to be hope. And we know as his children, he's not done with us, so there's always hope.
Yeah, there's always hope. And the Revelator, what's your take?
Oh my goodness, it's a phenomenal book, and we are grateful to God for such a book, and the times that we are in. We are currently we are in a class of advanced life, second year, and we were just recently taught about the 3 needs of life by McClellan's theory, and it addresses a need for achievement, need for power, and affiliation. I believe this book serves us well because it addresses all these basic needs of men. And I believe it's basically the solution to life. I personally would say it's a cheat code to life because it serves very well, addresses a lot of things that we as human, whatever area of life you find yourself, there's something in the book that speaks to your reality.
Yeah. So we're going to give you excerpts of the book. At the start of this book, Dr. Frank starts with the Epiphany, where he talks about his experience with one of his professors, Dr. Bobby Clinton, when he was at Fuller Seminary. And, he talks about how he went to the class, and the first time, this man asked them to take out their books and draw a tombstone. So they drew the tombstone, and, he asked them to write, when they were born, and then asked them to write, what they would like to be written on the tombstone after, they're gone. And, at that time, he said he wanted to be the greatest African that ever lived, And, he told us that if he was younger, obviously, so, but he said if it was today, he would have said something different. But I just want us to take a pause on that and look at how, because anytime I've heard that story before, but when I read it from the book, I had to take a pause because normally, especially as believers, we know that everyone will die, but not us. We understand that. We understand the brevity of life. We're like, oh, you can be here today and gone tomorrow. But anytime we're saying that, we're most likely looking at someone else and not us. And so when he talks about that, he ends by saying that the end starts now. Because Dr. Bobby Clinton said that whatever you've written on your tombstone, you can start living it now. And for me, I think that it's one of the most thought-provoking things that you can come across. How does that resonate with you? How do you understand that whole, frame that becomes the springboard for this book?
I believe that it's in a summation of what Daddy also says, that it's not too late to make it right. That's what that statement or what that experience that Daddy had with Dr. Bobby Clinton speaks to the reality of life in such that no matter where you are, you have to answer the inevitable question. What is going to be said of you at the end of your life? And if you don't have an answer, Daddy puts it, in a remarkable way, in his own way, as only the ambassador of hope can do. He not just raises the question, but also gives us the principles and infuses hope that if, in fact, you cannot answer these questions, this is why the book was written for you. You find the questions right there, you find the answers right next to it, and if you pay attention, one of the things that he spoke about is that It's not his intention to just give us the questions or make you afraid, but he sits next to you and helps you, holds your hand, so you are able to answer these important life questions.
Mommy.
Yeah, sometimes when in life, when we make one or a couple of mistakes or a few mistakes, we think life is over. That's the end of my life. I can't make it anymore. But whatever, just like Bobby Clinton said, whatever you want written on your tombstone, start living it now. And that doesn't mean that in life you wouldn't make a mistake. That doesn't mean that in life the road will be straight. That doesn't mean that in life there won't be burns and curves and that kind of thing, or you won't fall, or something terrible will not happen to you. But what it's saying is that when you fall, rise up again. When you make a mistake, that's not the end of your life. And people tend, when they make one mistake, they dwell on the fact that they've made a mistake and they don't want to move on with their life any longer. So this book will encourage you that yes, you've made a mistake, yes, you didn't do things right, but there is hope that if you decide to make it right, you can make it right.
If you decide to make it right, you can make it right. And if you decide to get the book, you can actually get the book. So we're still waiting for you to send us a DM with your details. Michelle.
For me, I think the workbook comes into play in this section about the end starts in view. It gives you a moment to pause and think about, how do I want? If I want my end to look like this, what steps do I have to take in order to get there? So by using the workbook, I think there's a question in there like that. It gives you a moment to pause and answer that question, how you want to take that step to do that. So like Vagla said, if you don't have it, try and get it before it's too late. But yeah, I believe Hebrews 2 also alludes to the fact that the Son of Man came down so he can be man and die for us and take captive over the spirit of fear in terms of death. So the end starts in view. I think people always think about, just leaving the earth and like final death. But it can also be seen in the end and how you want your academic life to look like, or how you want your business to look like in the end, or how you want ministry to look like in the end. And so starting with the end, you can break down the steps and then you go from where you are currently. So yeah.
Yeah. And, one other thing is that with the workbook, it actually comes with, it comes with a prayer to start with, and then it comes with a question. One of the questions, I want to read one of the questions. One of the questions says that, share a time when you felt like giving up. Then it goes on to say, what kept you? And how does the promise, there's still hope for you, land in your life right now? For me, this is full-blown therapy. Being able to ask yourself these questions and sit with these questions. Because sometimes I realize that a lot of us go through life and we're looking for answers everywhere. And sometimes you realize that if you actually sit, you would find out that you have the question. You have the answers to the questions that you're looking for. The only thing is that most of the time we're not patient enough to sit down with the questions that life throws at us, the decisions that we have to make. And I think that this book, this workbook is one of the things that will ground us in our ability to sit, ask these questions, and answer them. Beyond answering them, it's writing them down. When the Bible talks about, when we read Habakkuk, the Bible talks about writing, the vision down. And there's something about writing those answers down that will do more work for you. And so this is just, how the book works. It starts with every chapter. We start with, the opening prayer, a couple questions. And this workbook can work with small groups. It can be your family, devotional for the night before you go to bed, for church groups, departments. These are books that you can use as a bonding activity, just to ask how. As a department leader, instead of just going around and asking everybody, how are you doing? Today, the answer for how are you doing is good. And it ends there. But this book actually gives you the opportunity to probe further, ask questions, and get people to sit with these questions. But I'm coming back to Mommy. As the co-author by proxy, by your position,
I'm not the co-author.
I just wanted to find out what's your favorite chapter of this book, and how well does this book speak to you, especially, being, at the right hand or the front seat of the man who wrote this book. I know sometimes, I see how sometimes when he's preaching, you're taking the videos and you're resharing them and all of that. And sometimes, I say to myself, she's acting like they didn't come from the house together. But I see how you don't take anything that comes from him like very lightly. You always attach a certain level of importance, a certain level of reverence to it. And so I know that this book would really speak to you. But as someone from the inner court, what's your overview of this book? How is it blessing you? What's your favorite chapter? And why would you advise, especially the pastors' wives, to get the book?
Well, I'm not done reading the book yet. But just the title alone, Live Well and Live Well. It's very important that you live your life well, especially as a child of God, especially somebody bought with the blood of Jesus, that you live your life well. Your life should always reflect Christ. Your life should reflect what God has done for you. And it's very important that when you are living, you leave a legacy for the younger generation to follow after. I say it in so many ways that, yes, we've been married for a long time, but I try not to be familiar when it comes to, my bishop and the things of God. Because I'm also a Christian, and I learn for my life. So I try not to be familiar with him. Yes, we live in the same house, we sleep on the same bed, we are friends, but when it comes to the things of God, I am not familiar. And that is something that I have done intentionally over the years. And so living your life as a child of God and leaving a legacy for people to come follow, it's very, very important. There's a quote in the book that I love so much. It says that if you play with time, time will play you. If you play with time, time will play you. And for me, it's just a short quote, but it's very loaded. And I see a lot of people playing with time. And then you get to your latter years in life, and then you realize that you played with time when you were younger. Now, time is playing. That is when we tend to blame other people. That is when we tend to shift the blame on other people. Yes, maybe your parents or whatever may not have been the best, but you had all these years to make it right, and you played with time. So that quote really hit me. If you play with time, time will play you. And so if you are listening to us this evening, I want to encourage you not to play with time. You might think you have all the time in the world, but if you are not careful, time will play you. So my prayer is that you don't allow time to play you.
Well, you heard it. The prayer is that you don't allow time to play you. For Michelle, for those of you who don't know, every Tuesday, Michelle is the brain behind Ambassador of Hope. She's always behind the camera. She's always working. Today we decided to bring her to the front. And I think at a point, Daddy did a series on living well and living well. So when you look at the book, after every chapter, there's a QR code in which when you scan, you're going to get, it's going to take you to a link to some of the short videos about this same book. So there are things in the book that when you finish reading, you're going to hear from the horse's own mouth. You're going to hear, Frankie Baby say it to your face. And those videos, I've watched some of them. The look on his face and the way he's saying it, you're going to feel that impact, right? But after going through, listening, being behind the camera, watching, basically having a back row or backstage access to seeing how these things are put together. Again, looking at the impact of the book, what you've read so far, what you've heard so far, what you've seen so far. Because again, one of the things that I believe is that this is not just a book that was written out of theory, but we can all see that Papa lives his life intentionally, making the strides and trying to, live well. For us in this church, we always say this, like, when you look at the edifice in the church and everything, you probably say he's done all he can do. But even when we look at Legacy Center, like starting all that again, it shows that he thinks not just of himself and the generation in which he finds himself, but the generation that's ahead. How does your, proximity, or how does your dealing with Papa at such a, close interval, being able to see all these things, hear this in a couple, I think this was one of the longest series he did. How does that all come together for you as you, flip through the pages? I know you might not have finished, but just to see the book, just to flip through the pages, how does it work for you?
This is a loaded question. I would say, reading this book, I went in with a blank canvas. In as much as I've heard it before, I was like, okay, let me come in with a different lens. Let me see what else I can learn from it. Maybe whilst the episode was going on, I was panicking about something, or somebody was leaving a comment, so we wanted to respond to them. So how can I look at this with a blank canvas and learn something else to add on to my life? One thing I think Bishop says a lot is God gave you 2 ears to listen and 1 mouth, so you listen more and you're quiet less. So as I'm reading this book and I'm scanning and going back to the videos, I'm like, is there anything else in here that I didn't see the first time? How can I apply this to my life and the generation after me? And even with church, how can I learn from this and impact Gen Next? How can I learn from this and grow as a person in Christ at school? How can I show the world that, okay, I'm walking and living like Christ? So this book has brought a different perspective, and using the workbook as well. It's like, okay, I like to journal a lot, so I like to take my time, pause, and like, am I paying attention? What area of my life do I need to pay more attention to? So that's been it for me right now.
Well, that's good. Later. What have you got for us? What have you got for us?
Well, this book is amazing because it gets better with age. I would say that, just based on what I've read so far, because I know that it's going to be applicable, like I said, to various spectrums of life. Whether you're in a corporate, whether you're in full-time, part-time leadership, Christian leadership, or secular leadership, it addresses principles that if you are really looking for answers, you're going to find. And one of the things that I chanced on in the book, he spoke about the 3 mountains, the mountains of fulfillment, the mountain of fulfillment, unfulfillment, fulfillment, and the triumphant mountain. And I believe that is very necessary as a student leader coming up. One of the things that we need to appreciate also in this book is that the right questions is being asked. As Papa was asked the right question by Dr. Bobby Clayton. I believe in life, if you are not asked the right questions, you can have right answers and solutions in life. Either you are asking the right questions or someone that loves you enough to ask you the right questions. So I believe that right questions are being asked, especially in the times that we live in this generation, that must really get our attention to take a pause. One other thing that he said, if you don't pull apart, you fall apart, if I'm quoting exact. Yeah, so there's a time for us to come to a complete stop and take a life stock of our lives, ourselves, and see if we're going in the right direction. And if not, God has blessed us with this apparatus, I'll call it, to help us have a quality of life. So this is a little bit of addition to.
So let me just add to what he said. You know, when you go to a mall and you're looking for a store, normally when you get to the main entrance, there's a map there that tells you you are here. And once you locate where you are, wherever you're looking, whichever store you're looking for, you can find it easily. And if anybody reading the book, and I encourage you to get this book, if you're reading this book and you make an honest assertion of yourself, you will know where you are in your life. And when you know where you are in your life and you determine to make it right, this book will help you. And so if it's okay, for some of us, we just read and we know what we want to do with our lives, but we are not able to follow through it. But if you make an honest assertion of your life and know where you are and you determine to make it right, I believe that by the grace of God, He will help you make it right.
Yeah, I agree with Mommy. And for me, you know, when I saw the title, I felt like it was going to be, you know, a hard book to read, right? And that is because sometimes with books like this, it's telling you all the things you've done wrong, and it's more or less like condemning you and talking down. But you can actually hear the tone of the ambassador of hope. Like, he's telling you the reality, but he's also telling you that you can make it. There's still hope. It's never too late, even though, you know, you might have made a mistake, even though you didn't know or have this information early. At every time you get some information, it's still some hope in your hand that you can turn back or turn around your situation regardless of where you've gotten to. Now, when we're talking about questions, I have one question here that I want to ask from the workbook, and it comes from the why people don't finish well part. So Dr. Frank asks, what are you mastering? What would you like to be known for? And what process is required to get there? So I want us to just, you know, just in a brief moment, just tell us, what are you mastering?
Right.
What are you mastering? I think that question alone, what are you mastering? What would you like to be known for? Right. And what process is required to get there?
Yeah, I believe it speaks to purpose, number one. And like I said, this book will help you discover purpose. If you don't know where you are, like Mommy said, in life, and you don't know your purpose, it speaks to purpose. And once you discover your purpose, you also understand that it becomes your life's responsibility. It's incumbent on you to undertake the processes that you need to fulfill your purpose. So once, in simple terms, I would say, once you know why you exist, focus all your attention on that. That becomes what you are mastering. Anything else will deviate your life course. So now, there are things that you may do, courses you may need to take, mentorship you may need to come under, experiences that you may need to have in order to help you become the best version of yourself. So I believe that, yes, in my personal assessment, in the area of my calling, this gives me an honest lens to take a look, have an introspective view of where I've been, where I am, and where I'm going. Yes. So it's a very helpful way.
Yeah, Michelle?
I would say what I'm mastering in this season of my life is the art of saying no. In this, for me personally, in our culture, it's kind of hard to say no to adults, or if they want you to do something, you just fall into the tendency of, oh yeah, okay, sorry, please. But this book has a section, it says underestimating the power of saying no. So I think for me right now is mastering the art of saying no.
And this book teaches you how to say no.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
teaches
it's
you
a
how to
It's
say
a complete
sentence.
complete
sentence.
and it teaches you how to say no very nicely,
Yeah.
very professionally, and all that. But
V,
mommy,
if I may ask,
Yeah.
Mommy, I just also had an epiphany in the midst of all of this. I was talking to V about it, that can you talk to where Daddy was at the time of your life when he had this revelation, when this question was asked, and how did it affect your?
I think he's here, so he can answer for himself. He's here, so let him answer for himself. Yeah, I think he'll be the right person to answer.
yeah.
But I mean, just like you said, I have to, at this time of my life, to learn how to master my time. Because time is very important. There are some people, they don't need your wisdom, they just need your attention. They don't need your wisdom at all. Whatever you tell them, they are not interested in that. They just need your attention. So I want to try and encourage you, give you hope, and let you know that where you are is not the end of your life. But sometimes you have to master your time. You don't want people to come and waste your time. And I've observed that a lot of people want your attention, but they don't, want, what you are telling them. So for me, time is very, very important. And so let Pastor, when that is.
Well, you heard it here. Some people want your time, and they want your attention, not your wisdom. Again, like we're saying, if you're online and you were at the book launch on Saturday and you have a copy of the book and you started reading, we'd like to also hear from you. What are your takeaways? How is the book blessing you? What are you learning so far? Again, if you're online, you don't have the book, you want to find out how you can get the book, please send us a message, send us a DM, and we'll reach out to you and we will make sure you have a copy of the book in your hand. And so please make sure there are very few copies left. If you were here on Saturday, we did a sale on Saturday, we did a sale on Sunday as well. It was a double banger. So if you don't have the book, they are very limited stock. So please let us know. Check, send us a DM, and let's get you hooked. Let's get you hooked. Again, one of the things that Papa talks about in the book is a reality. Where Dr. Bobby Clinton talks about the fact that when he reads through the Bible, roughly over 1,000 leaders, and he realizes that only 30% of those people finish well. Only 30%. Now, even when you bring it into ministry, as it were, we're told that over 1,500 pastors leave the ministry every single month in the United States. And that tells us how sometimes success can look from the outside like it's success, but from within it might not be so. Because again, that's why Papa puts emphasis on living well. Because you can start well, you can be in the middle and be doing well, but the end, how to when the plane takes off, everything is fine. But how to land that plane and make sure that it's not. And the aim of this book is basically just to make sure that everybody who gets a copy of this book are in that 30%, by and large. And so for me, again, this book is not one book that you just read and put down, right? You don't just scan through the pages and all of that, but you actually have to do the work of understanding and applying the wisdom nuggets in this book to your life in such a way that it is profitable to you. For me, this is not just a book. This is a master class. And I think that for leaders, for pastors, I think I'm going to create a series from it for Gen X.
Okay.
I think it's a good book all around, and it's going to really help us. And so if you're in the comment section, if you have any comments, please let us know. But
Somebody said you become the best version of yourself if you read this book.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Become the best version of yourself.
Minister, before we jump the question, you didn't answer the question you gave.
Oh, what am I mastering,
Yeah.
right? Okay. I think that right now, what I'm really trying to master is basically master the art of following well. I think that one of the things that I've realized, especially in my generation, is that we actually lack the art of following well. That is, we only follow when it's convenient for us. The moment it changes, or the moment you are chastised a bit, the moment there's a little bit of turbulence, it's like you're looking for the next easy place to be. But for me, I think that the art of following well, Papa said something during the 25th anniversary, and he was talking about the fact when we asked him, how did he make it here? He said something. He said that it was just obedience in a straight line. That is, being obedient from the beginning, following that obedience. And for me, I think that when Paul talks about the fact that we should be imitators of him as he is of Christ, when he was talking to the church, I think that it's important that as a young person, as a young leader who is coming up, there are people who have gone before us. And the art of following, and the following is, following without an agenda, flowing without necessarily expecting, instant gratification, but being able to go through that process that you'll be refined as a follower. And so that's what I'm trying to master. Is it easy? No, it can be hard, especially when people are telling you you can do this on your own. You have the opportunity here. Don't get locked up. Don't get stuck up. And it's like there are a lot of voices, but you also have to know who you're following, what you're getting from there, how that is impacting your life. And so I think that the process required for me to get there is 2 Ds, discipline and discernment. Being able to be disciplined to follow and align, because following means conforming, and conforming is not always easy. There are certain things that that you have to let go. There are certain things that you believe that you'll have to let go, and there are certain things that you don't know, you don't have, but you have to also add it. And then the discernment, being able to discern and know the voice that is speaking to you in this dispensation, that the voices that are speaking to you are not swaying you away from, actually staying focused on the path that God has set you. Because I also believe that God sends men. And so in our generation, it's easy to miss the man that God has sent to take you to your next level, to be your Eli and all of that. And so I think that that's what I'm trying to master, the art of following and following well.
Okay,
That's good.
Somebody just asked about the book, so please send us a DM for those asking in the comment section. We will keep an eye out on our social media platforms. It's the Ambassador of Hope on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Frank Ofosu-Appiah Official. And if you just send us a DM with your information, we will mail the book out to you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Any last words, Mommy? Any takeaways? I think that I haven't finished the book myself, but I think that the size of the book too is very strategic. this is a book that if you really want to dive in real quick, you'll be able to, do that, and then, go to the workbook part and build upon it. But at the end of the day, this is, for me, I feel like this book is Papa giving us the nuggets, like pouring himself out and saying that these are some of the keys I believe he lives by. These are some of the things that I believe that he's tried. So he's not just telling us, he's not being a signpost. He's not showing us to a place where he himself hasn't been. And for that, I think that I just want to take a moment to actually really appreciate him for putting this together and sharing these aspects of his life with us as a whole. For those of us who are children, we're very grateful. We know that this book will make us better. But we just want to hear from all of us and just your final take on the book. And like Mommy, I said, I think that with you, it's in place to talk to the pastors' wives, the women in ministry, why they should get this book, especially from, Mami Gio.
Well, I think everybody should get this book. For me, it should be a day-to-day book, everyday book, because if you look, through the book, it talks about everyday things, your to-do list, not to be bitter, how to work with your time, the seasons of life, and all these things come together to make us, better, to make us live well and live well. So to a minister listening to me, to a first lady listening to me, I encourage you to get this book. And also when you get this book, it will be nice for you to, share it with your group, sort of have an accountability partner in this book. If you are not good with your time, somebody can help you, be accountable with your time. If you are not good with not saying no, somebody can help you. So this book is not only for, it's for everybody. Christians, non-Christians, pastors, leaders. It's for everybody because it's an everyday book that you will get something for your life every day. And as every day as your life becomes better, your future becomes better. And so it's important that we get this book. So if you are listening to us, get this book. Amen.
Amen. Michelle, tell your friends.
Yeah, I think everybody just needs this book, especially for the younger generation. It talks about saving. Bishop is big about saving. And if you start now, by the time you're 60, 70, you'll be well equipped. It talks about a lot of things, so I think everybody needs this book, especially if you're young. You have all the tools you need to be set in life, so I recommend this book for everybody.
It's funny Michelle talked about savings. When I moved to Atlanta over 25 years ago, I decided to save $25 a month. $25 a month. And I still do till today. I just did a standing order. So every first day of the month, $25. And so imagine, work it out, 25 times 25 years. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm saying this to encourage a younger person. You don't need to have all the money before you start saving. Start small. I believe in starting small. It could be as little as $5 a month. Don't touch it. $10 a month. $1 a month. But whatever you do, start saving.
Well, whatever you do, start saving. This book is for everybody. Well, Revelator.
Well, there's a quote in the book that says, you'll be remembered for what you have built or what you tore down. Mm-hmm. And I believe that it speaks to legacy. We are all going to leave this earth one day, as, the book talks about. And I believe that when it's all said and done, whatever that you do here is what's going to matter. What you did, what you were created to fulfill. Whether or not you did that or you didn't do that, that's what matters. And I believe this book does a justice to addressing those issues. And so with me, I would say my generation, we are in a place right now where we are so distracted by many things. We live in a generation where everyone is trying to become somebody without really playing by the rules. And if you take a look at what we have now, you see that many people have done things that does not really resemble what God asked them to do. And it goes to buttress your point. Many of us want to be leaders, general overseers, head pastors, so on and so on, and not enough people really want to be followers. And here we are. God has blessed us with a leader who has walked the walk and is giving us the nuggets and the points of that walk so we can emulate and follow and be successful as God wants us to be.
Okay. Someone is asking, how does one get this book in Africa? So again, when you send us a DM with the details, we'll connect with you and we'll make sure you have the book anywhere, any corner you are on this earth. So long as you are on this earth, we can get the book to you. So please, like we said, we have just a few copies. We don't know when we're going to reprint, and so please make sure, and everyone who buys the book gets a signed copy by Dr. Frank himself, and so you have a copy signed, and when you buy a book, it comes with the workbook, so you don't have to buy the workbook separately. It comes with the workbook, and you'll be able to enjoy this. And so please make it a point to reach out to us. We're actually going to put it out there. Make sure that if you need the book, if you need it in bulk, if you have a church, you want to keep it in your bookstore, if you want to resell, if you have an organization, that we are taking all those things into consideration. So you reach out to us, let us know what the arrangement is, what you want the books for, and we'll be able to actually give you a very good deal that will suit whatever occasion that you're using it for. But I think that it's all about the book. That's all we came to talk to you about today. It's all about the book. It's blessing a lot of people. It's blessing us, and we just didn't want to keep it to ourselves. So we decided to come to you tonight just to give you an overview of the book, talk about the book, and see how the book is transforming our lives, but also extend an opportunity to you to be able to also get this book for yourself. It's a very good book. That one, we can tell you, it's a very good book. We want our last, because the Ambassador of Hope is not there, but we have the Ambassadress of Hope. We'll take our last words from Mommy, and we'll take our last words from Mommy, and this is last and blessing us so that we can be on our way. But it's been a very great time, very humbling time. Again, thank you, Papa, for this book. We appreciate you, and thank you, Mommy, as well, for always being behind Papa and cheering him up.
Thank you for joining us. It's the wish of the Ambassador of Hope for you to live well and to live well. It's very important for him, and that is his heart desire. Every Tuesday he comes your way to give you a word of hope, encourage you that where you are is not the end of your life. And he believes that greater things are ahead of you. And so we want to encourage you again to get the book. And I want to encourage you that wherever you are, it's not the end of your life. God has good plans for you. God has better plans for you. You may just be in a detour. Don't stay there. Rise up again. Dust yourself off everything that is gone, bad around you, and know that he has good plans for you. He is there to help you. Know that God will not leave you the way he found you. And so we want to say thank you again and know that you are worth it. Wherever you find yourself, know that it's not the end of your life. God richly bless you, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Hey, mommy, but you're not the same.